I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to predict that this is the season of the Buffalo Bills. The 2025-2026 NFL season is finally the year of the Buffalo Bills. If you're with me, Bills Mafia, like the video. Grunt, spike that like button. I don't care if he played for the Patriots. Like the video. Get in the comments and let me know if you agree or disagree. Is this finally the season of the Buffalo Bills? Maybe you need a little bit of an explanation. Maybe you need me to convince you. So this is exactly what I'm about to do. Lay it all out. Why the Bills will be the best team in the regular season, and why this is the season of the Buffalo Bills. Let's start with this. The Buffalo Bills have at quarterback the best football player on earth. The current reigning and defending most valuable player, MVP Josh Allen. Freshly married Josh Allen. Congratulations. Josh Allen is, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL entering 2025. And if you don't agree with that, he's at least elite. Extremely elite. To the degree where he is the first quarterback in NFL history to have 40 touchdowns in 5 straight NFL seasons. In his MVP campaign of 2024, he's one of only 2 quarterbacks to have 28 passing touchdowns and 12 rushing touchdowns in one season. Last year, the last 2 years actually, he's led the NFL in big-time throws. And last season, he led the NFL in big-time throws and PFF's rushing grade for the quarterback position, which means he's an equal threat with his extremely strong arm and legs. Josh Allen is Superman. He can take over a game and basically by himself win a game. Even when the Bills do not perform at their best on the offensive line, in the run game, his receivers aren't playing the best, or his defense doesn't perform, Josh Allen can still win those games. Not every time, but most of the time. That's reason number 1 why the Bills will likely be better than ever, and why this is their year. This is the best Josh Allen we have ever seen. He has gotten better and better and better and better ever since 2020. Allen has taken steps forward. Patrick Mahomes, worse and worse and worse over the last couple of seasons. Josh Allen led the NFL in pressure to sack percentage last year. Josh Allen had a unique season in terms of limiting negative plays. Tom Brady's favorite stat, right? And I believe Josh Allen has learned every lesson he needs to learn to finally win a championship. It's all there for him. He's got the MVP. He's got the wedding ring. Now he needs another ring, okay? And Josh Allen is the centerpiece. He is the leader. He is the guy that will take them to the show. So that's reason number 1. Then we talk about the guys protecting Josh Allen. The offensive line of the Buffalo Bills is one of the best in the NFL, and it's one of the most underrated. Last year, the Bills' offensive line took big steps forward at really becoming a top-end unit. They have 2 of the best tackles in the NFL at left and right. Spencer Brown on the right, Dion Dawkins on the left. I really feel like Dion Dawkins has been the most underrated tackle in the NFL for about 5 or 6 years. He's been steadily just a really good player on the blind side for Josh Allen. Spencer Brown was one of the breakout offensive linemen of the 2024 NFL season. And then names like David Edwards, Connor McGovern, both graded inside the top 30 at their position. McGovern, top 10. Edwards, 28th in the NFL at guard. Osiris Torrance could take another step forward in year 3 at right guard. But most importantly, this is an offensive line that is continuing to get better and continuing to build continuity and lost 0 pieces on that front entering 2025. This is an offensive line in their prime. This is an offensive line that last year was top 5 in both pass block grade by PFF and pass block win rate by ESPN. Pass block win rate and PFF grade. Top 5 in both metrics. So this is a very good offensive line. And the Buffalo Bills are as balanced as they've ever been. Not only can they throw the football, but they ran the ball last year better than I've ever seen it in the Sean McDermott, Josh Allen era. Last year, James Cook had 1,000 yards. He led the NFL with 16 rushing touchdowns. And James Cook became another breakout player for the Buffalo Bills. Not only can he contribute with his elusiveness and pass-catching capabilities out of the backfield, but he's also an extremely electric threat, touching the football on those zone runs, on those cutbacks. James Cook has some of the best vision and stop-start acceleration in the NFL. He's coupled and partnered up with 2 of the better running backs in football in terms of depth options. We're talking about Ray Davis, who's got more of that straight ahead, just bully mentality, that power in his game. And then Ty Johnson, who's one of the best third down running backs in the NFL in terms of his pass catching capabilities, his route running, and then his pass blocking. These guys have been used extremely well. And when we talk about the Buffalo Bills, you have to play in cold weather. When you have to play in cold weather, you have to be able to run the ball. And Buffalo was better than ever at doing that last year. Better than ever at possessing the ball. Better than ever at going on long, deliberate drives, keeping the ball away from teams like Baltimore in the playoffs. This team can run it down your throat when they want to. They can sling it around the yard. They can go deep. They can go short. They have a screen game. This offense is continuing to build, right? I think what they've become under Brady has become one of the most diverse offenses and balanced offenses in the NFL. So it's a variety. And then you talk about the variety and the depth of the weaponry, okay? So not only at running back, but at wide receiver and tight end. Their tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. You're hopeful for another step forward from Dalton Kincaid. Not sure we're going to receive that, but it still feels like there's untapped potential in that young man. Dawson Knox has been reliable as their number 2, a field stretcher, a guy that can really run at the tight end position. And then the receiving core is pretty interesting, right? Khalil Shakir had a bit of a breakout year last year, but I kind of feel like there's one more gear to his game. He didn't quite have 1,000 yards. He didn't quite match that like 90 reception, 100 reception type of total that I think he can get to this year. Like, this is a guy that I feel like they can use even more. They can put in the center of their offense even more than they already did last year. He was their best receiver last season, their most elusive, their best with the ball in their hands, type of target in the yak department. And I believe Shakir can become even more in 2025. So expect another breakout. Then you've got Keon Coleman, first round pick from last year. Apparently he's been gaining some extra muscle, some extra size, been working hard to get better and to become a breakout player. And in year 2, receivers often take jumps. If they don't break out as a rookie, year 2 is typically the spot where it happens. So look out for Keon Coleman as a guy that could be a downfield target, a physical ball winner on the outside, and a red zone specialist for Josh Allen. Wouldn't be surprised if he got a little bit of treatment in the slot as well at times. Josh Palmer was a pickup from the Chargers, a perennially underrated player. He can play outside, he can play inside, he's got really good overall size and possession catch abilities. He's really a player that's kind of a moldable target. You can put him outside if you need him to. You can put him in the slot if you need him to. If you want him to be kind of an intermediate target, he can do that. If you want him to go deep, he can do that. He's shown that statistically throughout the course of his career with the Chargers and Justin Herbert. Curtis Samuel was a nice little motion trickery type of player for this offense last year, using his speed on a lot of crossing routes and easy dump offs. I would be extremely intrigued to see if they could use him in maybe a little bit more through the vertical passing game this year, but he is another depth option for them. And then they picked up Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore, who I thought actually had kind of a decent year for the Browns last year as a complementary option to David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman. Elijah Moore can be that Khalil Shakir safety blanket type from the slot, like a complement to him, or even a backup to Shakir in case something goes wrong, or even like another quick slot option that can separate on the underneath areas of the defense, right? Kind of thinking like an Edelman / Amendola type of team up here. Maybe not quite as electric or as good, but in that same sort of role where both are small, short, quick area type of players. So those two can contribute to the overall collection of wide receiver talent, which again, when you're building a wide receiver room, this is a lot like a basketball team, right? You're building guys with different skill sets. Coleman's got that size, that physicality, and the jump ball skills. Josh Palmer is an in-between guy. Inside, outside versatility. Khalil Shakir is primarily in the slot. He's quick, he's electric, he's great after the catch. Elijah Moore is more of a route runner from the inside of the formation. And Curtis Samuel's got great speed, and he can be used as a running back, wide receiver, hybrid type of trickery player. So they have every sort of option that you can imagine. They can come out in 12 personnel with multiple tight ends. They can come out with multiple backs. They can come out with multiple, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. They can attack the depth of your cornerback group, the depth of your linebacker group. In any way, shape, or form, the Bills can attack you. And this is what I really like about their offense. They don't necessarily have a stud wide receiver or an absolute stud target. But what they do have is great versatility, great depth, and overall a lot of chess pieces, and you don't know where the ball is going to go. But the main man at the helm is Josh Allen. The main priority and playmaker of the offense is still Josh Allen, okay? Just because he doesn't have a Stephon Diggs doesn't mean this isn't an absolutely electric and difference-making offense that is very challenging to stop in any weather, in any stadium in the NFL. So I love the Bills' offense. Then we look at the defense, which is probably the main area where they struggled last year and the main area they need to be better in order to get better in the playoffs. Sean McDermott has consistently underwhelmed and underperformed in the biggest games, specifically against the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so let's talk about the defense a little bit. Sean McDermott has done a great job in the regular season at preparing this offense and getting the most out of this defense. Okay, Sean McDermott, in points allowed, they were 11th last year, which for him was not a very good metric. Like the worst they've ever been since 2019 was 16th in 2020 in points allowed. 16th. That's not even really below average. That's right average, right? The rest of the time, 4th in 2023, 2nd in 2022, 1st in 2021, and in 2019, 2nd. So they have had a top 5 defense 4 times in points allowed. 5 times, right? Top 5, 4 times, okay? So Sean McDermott can get it done in the regular season through his scheme, through his game plans, through the personnel, whatever it may be. They've gotten it done. How can they get better this year? Why is it their year? Like, what's the difference? Okay, I think the difference between this year and last year is I think they've gotten deeper on the defensive front, I think they've gotten outright better in the secondary, faster, more athletic, more reliable, right? So you look at the Buffalo Bills defensive line pickups this offseason. They added Joey Bosa. And I know that they let go of Von Miller, but Von Miller at this point kind of feels like a player that's only useful in sub packages and on third down pass rushing situations. He doesn't quite have the physicality or the power to play on early downs any longer. Joey Bosa is more of a 3-down player still. Even if he does miss some action, which he typically does, he's still going to be effective on all 3 downs. And at his best, he's still a very good number 2 edge rusher on your team, especially if he is healthy and he can work that speed to power. Okay, so Joey Bosa as a complement to Gregory Rousseau is a potentially game-wrecking 3-down defensive end duo in the NFL. TJ Sanders in the second round gives them a quick, penetrating complement in the pass rushing department to Ed Oliver. Okay, so potentially their defensive line, their starting defensive line, could have 2 new starters, or at least 2 primary rotation pieces. We're talking about TJ Sanders primarily rotating with Daquan Jones, Daquan playing primarily on the run snaps or run downs, complementing Ed Oliver. TJ Sanders playing on the pass snaps, pass rushing downs. And then you have Joey Bosa, hopefully when healthy, playing a primarily starting role, okay? All 3 downs as much as he can, complementing Gregory Rousseau. But even if these guys are not able to play on all downs, you've added more depth. Now, 2 guys that are suspended early in the year could be impactful in this rotation. Larry Ogunjobi, the big defensive tackle, could add much needed size and length to a defensive line that has been eaten alive by big, physical power teams, right? Like the Baltimore Ravens. Ogunjobi could be a guy that could be a space eater and just add that overall size and weight that this defensive line has been missing. Mike Hoyt is similar, but he plays defensive end, okay? He's a big man on the defensive end, and he's athletic. He's kind of nimble for that size. He's played outside linebacker a little bit. He's even started or began his career at defensive tackle. He's moved across the defensive front, so he is a hybrid player that's very good against the run and very good setting the edge previously for the Los Angeles Rams. He will be nice as a rotation piece in those later months, even if he's suspended early in the year. You'll want him in the later November, December, January, February type of football games where he is going to have to be in those physical downs and those physical, personnel packages of the opponents. Landon Jackson that they drafted, also big defensive end, 6'6", like 275. He's got that inside-outside versatility, great long arms, can get, his arms on you and just set the edge. And that's going to be huge against teams like the Ravens. So Landon Jackson, another guy that can contribute in that area of weakness from last year. They also drafted Deon Walker as well for more added depth on the defensive front. In the secondary, we're talking about Maxwell Hairston in the first round, one of my favorite corners in the draft, one of the fastest players in the NFL draft this year. Why I love that draft pick for the Bills is not only is he great in zone with his ability to break on the football, see the quarterback, and get the football, but at the same time, he gives you much needed speed that you have been missing for years. Tyreek Hill was a problem, right? Worthy recently has been a problem for the Bills. Hairston is exactly who the Bills have been missing. A guy that can play man or zone, but has that speed that you can match up with opposing wide receivers that are burners, right? Or just contribute to the overall speed of the defense, the speed of the secondary, the closing speed, right? The overall ball awareness. Like, Hairston brings all of that in a package in a rookie. If he can contribute right away, this defense is going to take a leap, because on the other side, Christian Benford is a really good corner. He's just a little slow, but he's got great length and great size, and he's great for those bigger wide receivers. So if you have a guy that's twitchy and fast and quick in Hairston and you have a big physical corner in Benford, you can match up with a variety of wide receivers in the NFL, and maybe you can even play a little bit more man coverage, which would be nice for the versatility of it for the playoffs, which is always a big deal. Dane Jackson and Trey White enter the scene once again for the Bills to add a little bit of depth and familiarity in this defense and the scheme. Trey White, who knows, could be a bit better, another year removed, another offseason removed from injury, working his way back, getting stronger, faster, quicker, all that stuff. He's already familiar with the Bills defense. That's a nice complementary piece. Definitely not worse than Kaiir Elam. So, I mean, that guy was like literally a positive by releasing and getting rid of him. And then Dane Jackson has always been a solid CB4, CB5 for the Buffalo Bills, has floated around the NFL, but knows Sean McDermott's defense inside and out, which is a big thing for a guy like McDermott. And you add Derek Forrest. I've always liked Derek Forrest as a special teams contributor in Washington. I think a guy that can play in the box, be a great tackler, athletic, fearless type of competitor. He's going to contribute to that safety room that has a lot of different variety of options, but to me, the one that stands out is Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop, second round pick from last year. He's got the speed. He's got the in my opinion, the range and perhaps the versatility to play a variety of spots in this defense. Can he take a leap this offseason entering next year? Imagine if Cole Bishop did take that leap. Imagine if Hairston was good right away. All of a sudden, you now have two basically difference-making players, young guys that have athleticism, that have speed, that have twitchiness, right? These guys are going to add to a defense that's felt slow. So that is going to be difference making for me. And of course, you still have Teron Johnson. You still have Cam Lewis, who's a decent backup there, could play safety or corner. You still have Taylor Rapp, who's a good football player. I would like DeMar Hamlin to play a little bit less in 2025 personally, but he's still there as well with great recognition of the defense and Jamarcus Ingram as a backup as well. So the Buffalo Bills just feel like a deeper defense. They feel like a faster defense. And I think that will add up to Sean McDermott potentially having his best defense in a few years. Like maybe not statistically, but when it comes to playing the better teams in the NFL, right? Playing the Rams offenses from last year, the Chiefs offense from last year, the Lions offense from last year, the Ravens, the teams that they struggled with, I think they'll be better because they have more options, right? They've kind of taken their defensive approach this offseason to couple and to complement and to basically mirror their offense. Their offense might not be the most expensive, but they have a lot of versatility. They have a lot of options, right? Inside now their defense, they might not have a lot of big ticket items, but they have a lot of variety. They have a lot of depth, veterans and youth players, right? So I look at it as like the Bills have more depth than they've had in the last 2 years. They have a better Josh Allen than they've had ever before. They have the best offensive line they've ever had. They've had the best running game they've ever had. They've had the deepest receiving core, maybe not the top, but the deepest receiving core they've ever had. So this Bills team on paper, on the roster, is just as good, if not better, than any that they've built over this tenure since about 2019, in my opinion. Maybe the defense isn't quite in terms of the big ticket, big item names, but I didn't even really mention the linebacker position where Matt Milano actually enters an offseason healthy. That's a big deal, right? Matt Milano is actually going to be healthy at the start of a season, right? Terrell Bernard is a very good football player. Dorian Williams could take another step forward. So, yeah, this defense just feels deeper, better, more versatile than any season I can remember dating back to like 2021. It's been that long, in my opinion, where the Bills have had this style of defense, especially if Joey Bosa does deliver his part. But really where I'm looking at why it could be the Bills' year, right? We talked about Josh Allen. We talked about the team, the roster, but the schedule, like it really lines up for the Buffalo Bills this year. So I want to take a look at the Bills' schedule and kind of break down what I'm talking about here, because it's kind of crazy how fortunate the schedule makers kind of made the Bills' schedule. Like, let's just look at it. So this is what I predicted for the Bills this year in my record prediction video. You guys might have seen this video, but I had them at 13-4. And let's just look at this schedule, right? So they play the AFC East, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Jets. The Jets are one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they play them in week 2 with a rookie coach, rookie offensive coordinator, right? And a bad quarterback in Justin Fields. They get them in week 2 where they won't be as prepared or as ready or as used to their schemes as they should be. Then they play them in the last week of the year where it could be used as a kind of a rest spot, or it could be used to secure a number 1 seed. Either way, the Jets are terrible, so they'll probably be on purposely losing this game regardless. Then you have the Miami Dolphins, who you play at home on a short week in your first game. That's almost an automatic win. The Dolphins are worse than previous seasons. Their O-line is a disaster. Tua is liable to get hurt at any point in the season, and they feel like a culture mess right now. The Dolphins, that's an easy win. Right? Then you play in Miami in week 10. That will be a tougher game to play, but you guys have proven to dominate Tua when he's healthy, and you've proven to take care of business against the Dolphins. I give you the benefit of the doubt. The toughest team in your division is my Patriots. You play them relatively early with Mike Vrabel, Drake May in week 5 on a Sunday night in Buffalo. That's a really hard game for a young team like New England to go on the road and win. Right? That should be a game that the Bills can handle. That being said, I don't think it will be easy, but I do think the Bills can at least split with the Patriots. Even if they do lose to New England later in the year in New England, which I did predict them to lose, I think it's very likely that they at least split. So right there, that's 5 out of 6 games, in my opinion, that they should win. Right? Maybe they sweep New England, they lose 1 to Miami. Regardless, 5 wins is very likely in this division, if not 6. Okay? Then you take a look at this home schedule, which is very important to talk about. Look at the teams that Buffalo plays at home and compare it to the teams they play on the road, okay? They play Baltimore in week 1 at home on Sunday Night Football in front of the Mafia jumping through the tables. They play Baltimore. This game could have easily been in Baltimore, but they play them at home. They play, of course, their division foes at home, right? They do get the Saints, which is an easy game. That should be an automatic win. And then you talk about all the tough teams they play are at home after the bye week. They play the Chiefs at home. They play the Bucks at home. Later in the year, where the Bucks are from Florida, it could be maybe cold by that point in the season for them. They play the Bengals at home, even if they lose that game, which I predicted for them to lose. But regardless, at least it's at home. It's a better chance you win than in Cincinnati later in the year against Joe Burrow and that offense, right? Especially, if the game is, snowing and stuff. That will be an upper hand for you guys. I know that you lost that playoff game, but it's a bit of a different Bengals defense at this point. And then you play the Eagles at home, which I also have you losing. So honestly, I have you losing 2 games at home, which for the Bills is crazy. I had to give you some losses, right, on your schedule. You're not going to go undefeated. But it's also crazy that I have you losing later in the year, because typically Buffalo plays well at the end of the year. They usually lose games kind of in the middle or near the beginning of the year, right? So it was honestly hard to find them losses despite the level of opponents they play. They play a first-place schedule. They play the Texans. They play the Eagles. They play the Chiefs. They play the Bucks. They play these teams, right? Baltimore. But at the same time, they play every good team they play at home. Literally. You look at the teams they play on the road. The Jets, okay? The Falcons on a Monday night in a dome. You should win that game. Then you have a bye and you play Carolina in Carolina. That should be a win. You play Miami in Miami. Okay. You play Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. That's maybe tough, but I think you can handle that. You guys handle Pittsburgh pretty regularly. Cleveland in Cleveland, by the end of the year, they're not going to be any good. Look at the teams you play on the road and compare it to the teams you play at home. So every good team is at home. Every bad team's on the road. That's a perfect schedule for the Buffalo Bills, who have one of the best home fields, who have one of the best field and weather and environment advantages in the NFL. They play the NFC South, right, this season. They play an easy division compared to teams like Baltimore and Kansas City, who will be their rivals in the AFC to get the number 1 seed. And if you're thinking about the main competition that you guys will be facing, right, this season, we're talking about teams like the Chiefs. We're talking about teams like the Ravens, okay? These are teams that play the Chiefs just in their division, the Broncos twice, the Chargers twice, and even the Raiders twice with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. The Ravens lost last year to Cleveland, by the way, but they do get Cleveland as kind of a little bit of a break. But they play Joe Burrow twice, and they play the Steelers twice, who they always lose to once, okay? Then, on top of that, they play a first-place schedule, and unlike Buffalo, they don't play every game at home. In fact, they play Buffalo on the road, both of those teams, okay? So both of those teams play in Buffalo. That's a big advantage. Even the Bengals, who I expect to be better this year, play Buffalo in Buffalo. Buffalo doesn't even play Denver. They don't play the Chargers, right? The next best team in the AFC they play, I guess the Texans in Houston is tough, right? You lost that game last year, but I don't think it's unwinnable considering that the Texans' offensive line is kind of a disaster. And if your defensive line does take leaps forward, you could win that game. Okay, so I'm looking at the primary AFC competition. The Ravens don't really have anything to worry about, in my opinion. Like, the Ravens look like the other main competition for the Bills this year. They feel lined up where they have about the same team. They've only really improved it and tweaked it and had a strong draft, right? They have Lamar Jackson coming off his 2 best NFL seasons. But the Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl hangover. Travis Kelce's getting older. The O-line has flaws. The run game has flaws, right? Chris Jones is getting older. Like, Rashee Rice is coming off a torn knee. Like, they have issues in Kansas City. And for Buffalo, their main competition, their main failure has come against Kansas City, right? It's come against Kansas City. And the fact that in the playoffs, the Chiefs could maybe not have the 1 seed because maybe it's Buffalo or maybe it's Baltimore. And then, you think about all the teams that maybe could compete with the Chiefs, like the multiple teams in their division, the Chargers and the Broncos, who will be very familiar with the Chiefs, okay? The Bengals, who have beaten the Chiefs and proven to beat the Chiefs. Hey, maybe even the Patriots can make a run at the Chiefs with Mike Vrabel there this year. So I'm looking at Super Bowl hangover for the Chiefs after somewhat of a fluky 15-2 record. The way that they lost to them last year, the amount of improvements the Bills have had, the fact that the Bills did beat Baltimore last year in the playoffs, the fact that they played Baltimore and the Chiefs at home. And I think Baltimore and Buffalo are on the trajectory to meet each other in the AFC Championship. That's kind of how I feel. Maybe the Chiefs get there once again. You can't count them out. But those, to me, on paper, feel like the best teams. To me. Okay? And then in the NFC, you're talking about Saquon has the Madden curse, which Josh Allen just had to try to overcome. Okay? Not too long ago. A couple years ago. The Lions have lost all their coaches. And now Frank Ragnow. They were 15-2 last year. Who's the real competition standing in the Bills' way? I don't quite think the Broncos are there. I don't quite think the Chargers are there. I don't quite think the Patriots are going to be there this year. The Bengals don't really have a good enough defense for me. NFC-wise, well, then you would be meeting in the Super Bowl. Would it be the Rams? The Niners? Would it be the Vikings with J.J. McCarthy? The Commanders with a very flawed defense? Who is beating the Bills? If it's not Kansas City, who has a hangover, and if Baltimore has to go to Buffalo and play in the snow, who's winning that game? Probably Buffalo. I kind of think it's the Bills' year, guys. Based on this schedule, based on their roster, based on the pieces that have come together and the potential evolution of some of these pieces on the team. They have learned every lesson there is to learn. It's their time. It's their season. Grunt, spike the like button if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Guys, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I love you so much. Just a shout out. I have a new channel. It's called BLV Beyond. It's going to be exclusively video essay format. I'm very excited for it. Okay, pinned comment in the description as well. Please subscribe. I need 1,000 subscribers. Okay, go subscribe over there and check out the awesome content that is to come, including potentially a Josh Allen video. Thanks for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.